Okay, so we're going to do a poll. We got a few, just to make sure you're not sleeping on us. Yeah,
Yeah.
how many webinars is this for you? We're kind of interested to know, do we have a lot of first timers? Boyd, are you going to launch that or was I? Okay. So go ahead and look at your screen and answer this question. How many CCO Q&A webinars have you attended? Is it your first one? Is this your second to fourth one, your fifth to eighth, and too many to count? So go ahead and take a minute to answer that.
70% voted.
That was fast.
Yeah, they're alive
They're
tonight.
not sleeping yet.
Okay, so if you haven't voted yet, I'm going to close it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Closing and sharing.
All right. Oh, wow. I'm so glad we asked this. I would have had no idea. So 41%, it's their first time. So welcome, newcomers. 41% 2 to 4, 9% 5 to 8, and 10% too many to count. All right. Well, great. That's really good to know.
That's our groupies.
You can be our groupie too. Okay, this is my slide that Boyd makes me put in to remind you to stay to the end because that's where we're going to have some giveaways and special coupon codes and all that kind of stuff at the end. We try and keep the content up front. And then at the end, of course, this is to introduce you to what we have to offer to sell. So we'd like to highlight some of that at the end as well. So stay tuned for that. And then we had another poll. This is our standard poll. Are you certified or not? That kind of helps us. We've been pretty much running about, I think it was like 80-20 last time. So we'll launch that one. So if you can take a minute to look at your screen and just check, are you a certified coder, yes or no, or not yet is how I like to refer to it because we're in the business of helping you get certified.
Okay, closing the poll.
All right.
And sharing the poll.
All right.
Wow.
So 28% said yes, they're certified. So you really love coding because you're here not just for CEUs because there aren't any. And
We're
then
working on it.
Yeah, we're working on it. And 73% are not yet. So good. So I think we'll have some good stuff for you tonight too. Okay. All right, so I'm going to take this first question. This was one, actually, I got twice this week. So I said, all right, there's a practice exam out there. I won't say where. I reworded it so I don't get in trouble. But two different people emailed me about it. So I said, okay, I'm going to go over this. So here's the question. A 60-year-old woman comes in for a second opinion for her sleep apnea. The physician documents an extended history. She's had it for the past 4 months. Sleep is disrupted by frequent awakenings and getting worse due to anxiety and snoring. Current medication that she is now on is not helping. An extended review of systems indicates she feels tired all the time, has some joint stiffness and night sweats. She is going through a divorce. Doctor performs a comprehensive exam and moderate medical decision making. So this is from students that have either taken my Blitz or the course, and I teach a method, locate your hem and time, which basically is saying, well, first identify the location or the category and subcategory of E&M. And in this case, the answers are 99203 and 204, which are office new patient codes. And then 214 is an established, and 243, I think, is a consult. So because they're coming in for a second opinion, we can cross off C and D. Okay, so it's now going to be 203 or 204, and that's the tiebreaker that we want to try and figure out. So here's my little worksheet. I tell you to write on your exam booklet, or even in the real coding world, on your, whatever where you're keeping notes, locate and then HEM. And the goal is to fill in the blank to the right. So for location, we've identified it's office new. For the history, they didn't really come out and give us the history, okay? Which oftentimes on the board exam they will do. But it did say the physician documents an extended history. Well, for history and exam, they have problem focused, expanded problem focused, detailed, and comprehensive. So extended isn't one of those terms. So they technically did not provide outright what the overall history level is. Okay. But for exam, they did. They said comprehensive exam and moderate medical decision making. So I put a C for the exam and I put an M for moderate decision making for the medical decision making. Okay. Now, when you look in your CPT book in the E&M section for Office New, you'd see that the C shows up on a level 5 or a 99205. So for shorthand, we just put a 5. And the moderate medical decision making shows up at a level 4. So far, these are the two levels. We need to figure out what the history is, because for Office New, we know that we need to meet or exceed all 3 of the bullets for that exam. So what this is doing, it's making us work for the history. So for the history, since we have to work for it, we need to turn to our history table that you hopefully wrote in your manual. And you know what? Let me see if I can get my document camera out for that.
While she's doing that, I was going to mention this is classic for board exams. They're wanting you to they know you know how to find codes, but can you pick the right code? And by having to come up with the history, that shows them that you know how to pull the history out of your documentation and pick the correct code.
Okay, are you guys seeing that okay?
Yes, it looks good.
Okay, so this is my page 3 of my CPT manual, which, if you do the blitz or the course, you'll get a copy of this. So this is what you want to write in your worksheet, and we're trying to fill in these blanks. Okay, that's what I'm trying to do on the slide. So since we're trying to figure out history, I'm going to go to the history table that I wrote in, and this is basically taking let me back out here just a little bit.
So I think you need to make it smaller.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay. So I'm a very visual person, as you've heard me say many times before if you've listened to me on these videos, because when I see paragraphs of text, it's like Charlie Brown, wah, 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 wah. I'm just not getting it. So I have to convert things to a visual. So all of this table is from the guidelines in the pages that precede this. Okay, so I just took history, present illness. I turned to the definition for HPI, and I saw that there was 2 possible scores. Okay, you see that extended? So that should look familiar. So an HPI, history, present illness, can be either brief or extended. Well, they told us it was an extended, right? Okay, so the next piece of history is review of systems. And you can have no review of systems done. You can have a problem pertinent, which is basically one system. Problem pertinent that's extended, that's 2 to 9, or complete, which is 10 to 14 systems. Now, review of systems sounds a lot like the exam because you're talking about cardiovascular, genitourinary, so it sounds like things that you would examine, but it's what I call the talking, not the touching. Sounds a little perverted, but they're asking the patient questions about those organ systems because it's something that they can't measure or palpate or weigh. They have to find out, well, are you having headaches too? That kind of thing. They can't look at you and see that you're having a headache. You have to tell them. Then the third piece to history is the past family social history, or someone recently said, oh, PFISH. I'm like, okay, whatever works. But there's 3 distinct pieces: past history, family history, and social history. So if you see documentation for 1 or 2 of those, it's considered a pertinent PFSH. All 3, it's considered a complete. And then here's the 4 possible levels that we want to fill in on our H line down here. PEDC, problem focused, expanded problem focus, detailed or comprehensive. Okay, so they're making us work for it on the slide. Let me go back there real quick. No. Are you still seeing my book, or are you seeing the slide?
Yeah, we've seen the book.
Okay. How about now?
There we go. Back to the
Okay.
slide.
Okay, so, oops. There we go. So HPI is extended. The ROS was extended. The past family social history is pertinent because when you read about it, it was just really talking about she's going through a divorce. Okay. So when you go back to the table, we're trying to plug in extended pertinent. And the extended, we'll see, will come out to a C. The extended ROS comes out to a D, and the pertinent comes out to a D. So let's see how that works out. Extended pertinent. All right, so here's extended, and here's, that's not what I was looking for. What did I say? One of them came out to a C. Oh, okay, here we go. So since extended on this one, it shows up on both levels, we always give them the higher one. We always give them the most credit that we possibly can that they documented. So that's why the HPI is going to get a C. Okay, but the extended for ROS only shows up at this row, so they get a D. All right, and then the pertinent gets a D. And when you put that all together, since this is a 3 of 3 table, the lowest wins. Okay, and the lowest in this case is going to be the detailed. All right, so now we come along, and now we can, where we had not provided outright, we figured it out, it's a D. It's a detailed. And when we turn to the 99203 and 4 code, we can see when it's 3 of 3, we code to the lowest. So what's the lowest between a level 3, 4, and 5? A level 3. Okay, so the answer for this case is 99203. The reason this kept coming to me is they had it wrong in the answer key. They were telling them it was B. It was 99204. So that's where the confusion was coming, and they thought they were doing this pattern correct, but how they tricked them was they used this extended history, and they're thinking, oh, E, extended, but it's actually expanded problem focused history. So you had to go back and really look at it closely and use that table. So for those who haven't taken their certification exam, the heads up for you is that it used to be there's about 10 questions on E&M on the board exam. About 2 of the 10, I used to say they make you work for it. Now I'm hearing it's more like 4 to 5 of the 10. So definitely make sure you write your tables in your CPT manual so you can use them to help you figure out the missing slot. Okay. All right, one quick poll before Alicia does her slide. Are you more aligned or leaning toward AAPC or a HIMA? Or maybe some other coding organization? They aren't the only two. And are you unsure? You're not sure who you want to align yourself with?
Go ahead and vote. We're going to close it in about a couple seconds here. 70% voted. I'm seeing a clear winner here, hopefully. But you never know, those last 20% could maybe switch it over. Come on and vote. We seem to be hitting around 80%. What's up with this, people, tonight? Come on.
20% are sleeping.
Yeah, I guess, or not able to vote, actually. Okay, so I'm going to close it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Close and share.
All right, so 77% with AAPC, 10% of HIMA, other, 0, and then unsure. Okay, that's good to know. AAPC is more your physician-based, and the one that we teach to mostly right now. Eventually, we might get into the CCS and the inpatient type of HIMA credentials, but right now we're focused more on physician-based and outpatient-based. So that's probably why we have more of a following of AAPC folks. So good to know. Thanks. Next up is Alicia. Where do I take the CPC exam?
This is one of the things that I think a lot of people don't think about when they get ready to sign up for the AAPC and they're going to take their coding course and they're all excited, and then someone says, where are you going to take your exam? And they think, oh, you mean I can't take it at the school? No, probably not. So what you want to do is make sure that you go to the AAPC website. That's going to be your first step. Lori's going to bring that up for us. And you would click on certification, and when you click on certification, it's going to give you a choice there in the blue tabs at the bottom, locate exam site. When you click on that, it's going to give you a choice to put in, well, they actually do it out of the United States, but United States, and I was going to have Lauren go ahead and put in Texas, since I'm in Texas. And then we do a search. The next thing that's going to pop up for you is a list of the deadline of when the next exams you have to sign up by this date. Look down there, see the one with my name, Alicia Scott, CPC, Texas, San Angelo. If somebody wants to take a test in San Angelo at our location, they have to have registered by 10/6. They usually stay standard 4 weeks before you take the exam. Now, some people think that when they go in here, they think, oh, that's the date of the exam. That's perfect. So don't let that confuse you. I've had people do that.
Mm-hmm.
But you would be taking the exam on 11/3. Okay. Now, not every chapter provides an exam every month. So that's something to be aware of. You can do it as many times as you want, but the case is that you have to have 2 proctors for the exam. It's 5 hours and 40 minutes, so it usually takes, you're talking about 6.5 hours minimum by the time you set up and clean up and you provide the exam. And it's a volunteer process. So, somebody has to volunteer to do that. They're not getting paid, and they usually do them on Saturdays. They're usually always offered on Saturdays because that's when people don't work. So keep those things in mind, and they don't always offer them every month. Our particular chapter does, but they do like 11 out of 12, but they're only required, I think, to do 4 or 6 a year. So when you get done, you may get done, say, I'm going to get done in October, and October 1st, and I'm going to take my exam in October. And then you go and you sign up and you look and realize, oh wait, they're not opening an exam in my area till January. So make a point to go in, and when you join the AAPC, find your local chapter and find out where the exams are being held close to you and kind of plan ahead. Mm-hmm. But that's how you do it. You go to the website, you order it 4 weeks in advance, and you'll get an email with all the information about the site and your proctors, and you can contact them and get details and stuff. It's pretty easy process if you plan ahead.
Great. Thank you. Okay, burn coding. This one's for me. A student asked us to review ICD coding for burn. So if you have your coding manuals, I'm going to be turning to the tabular section of ICD 9, starting with code 940. By the way, for those who are just kind of getting familiar with our teaching methods, I pretty much do the main lectures in our courses. Alicia helps me with the webinars, and she's like the coach, and she helps answer, your coding questions, grade your tests, and all that kind of stuff. So we definitely work very well together. One of my claims to fame is using this document camera. And I really thought I was so clever back in the day, because my very first class was 6 students around a conference table. And as new instructors do, I wrote notes all in my book like crazy because I didn't want to forget anything. And I took 3 or 4 different coding textbooks and would read them all on whatever subject I was teaching the next time, and would cram all those notes in my manual. So as I'm teaching, they kept craning their necks looking at what I wrote, and they're like, well, what's that note? Well, why'd you circle it that way? So then I was like holding up my manual, pointing to things. And then finally I said, gee, if I could just project it up on the wall. And I had a video camera, and I had a guy that helped me out in my office create like this L bracket setup, and I would come with these little wing nuts and set it up with the digital cameras hanging down. I had wires everywhere. What I basically created was a document camera. Then about a year later, I'm flipping through an electronics magazine. Guess what? They sell them. They're called document cameras. And I'm like, oh my God, I could have just bought one. So at any rate, they're very expensive, but it helps with, the method I teach, because, on the board exam, you can bring in your manuals. That's it. And obviously we can't commit everything to memory. So any little helper notes that we put in our books, will help us. So that's why I teach from the manuals. I let the textbook be basically supplemental. You learn from the lectures and getting into your books and using them with the exercises. So at any rate, here's the burn category in ICD 9. And you'll see, just like all of ICD, you get your includes and excludes list. So it excludes friction burns, sunburns, and they forgot one if you want to write it in, sideburns. Ha 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 ha. I need a bigger live group for that. At any rate, I do that sometimes because students like hang on to your every word and they write everything down. And they start writing and they go, wait a minute. All right. So the first thing we need to identify with burns is we've got these 3-digit categories. So 940, burn confined to eye and adnexa. And by the way, the range for the burn category, it's telling us it goes from 940 to 949. So let's just get a lay of the land. What's the difference between the categories of 3 digits? 941 is burns of face, head, and neck. And 942, I'm going to turn the page.
Just watch your audio because you're just dropping just a little bit.
Oh, yeah, because I'm having to twist over to where my camera is. Okay, I'm going to move my little microphone buddy here. Eek. Too many papers. All right. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you good.
All right, so 942, burn of the trunk. So what the difference between the categories is location, general location, okay? Now, this is the point where I'll ask my students, okay, what do we need to figure out next? And they'll say, oh, is it the chest, the back, or the genitalia? I'm like, nope, that's 5th digit. We can't jump from 3rd digit to 5th digit box. Okay, we need to go down below the box to the 4th digits. So this is good instruction, not just for burn coding, but for general ICD coding. Don't think that things go in order. So what's the difference between the 4th digits? And what I love about this is that they're all the same for each of the categories. A 0, 0.0 means unspecified degree, 0.1 is 1st degree, 0.2 is 2nd degree, 0.3 is 3rd degree, 0.4 is deep 3rd degree, and 0.5 is deep 3rd with a loss of body part. Okay, so that's always the same. The 4th digit for ICD 9 is the depth of the burn, if you will. So we know location, depth, and now we need to know more specifically the location. So for this burn of the back, if I said it was a 3rd degree burn of the back, we're going to say, okay, 942 of the trunk, and then the 3rd degree is going to be 0.3, and then we come up to the 5th digit box, it's going to be 4. So 942.34 is going to be the code for that. That's pretty easy when you just have one burn. Quite often, unfortunately, there's multiple burns to contend with. So what do you do when you have more than one burn? Like if I had a burn of the trunk and a burn of the arm, well, I'm going to be in 2 different categories. So I'm going to have 2 codes. But what do you do when you have 2 burns in the same category? What if I have a burn of the back and a burn of the breast? They're in the same category, right? So if the back was a 3rd degree and the breast was a 2nd degree, what the guidelines tell us is that you code the most severe burn first. So it's going to be 942.3, but the 5th digit will be the 5th digit of 9, other and multiple sites of the trunk. You can tell I've been here before. Okay, so what a common newbie mistake is, they'll say, oh, coding guidelines say I code the worst burn. So they code 942.3 and they use 4 for back, when they miss the point that they should have used 9 to indicate it's multiple burns in that category, the worst one being a 3rd degree. Okay, so whenever you're coding multiple burns in the same category, you're only going to have 1 code per category. Okay, and if there's more than 1, you're going to use the multiple 5th digit code. In this case, it's 9. All right, now the other piece of the story is using code 948, because I'm a mom. So if my kid got hurt and they got burned and I'm getting a call, I'm going to be like, what % of their body was affected? Is it just their finger? Okay, we can deal with that. But if it's like, their whole arm, or, it's the extent, not just where and how deep, but the extent. So 948 tells that story. Okay, so 948 says burns classified according to extent of body surface involves. Now, I did make a little cross-reference. Page 77 of CPT has a nice kind of rule of nines picture you can take a look at, and they've got one of the baby. That's a great thing to do, by the way, guys, is give yourself cross-references. I always pretend like it's my pre-exam self writing notes to that self that's going to be taking the exam. So when you're taking the exam, you're like, thank you, Lorene, for doing that. So at any rate, we go to fourth digit first, and we look at the fourth digits. We've got 0.0 is less than 10%. 0.1 is 10 to 19%. 0.2 is 20 to 29. You get the idea. What this is for, if you circled this and wrote a note, I would have you write total body surface area, TBSA. Total body surface area. So if you have a burn of the back and the burn of the breast, like we were talking about, what is the total, percent of the body that's affected? Now, so that leaves the fifth digit box, which is basically the same pattern. Fifth digit of 0 is less than 10. Fifth digit of 1 is 10 to 19, etc. But this is for third degree burns only. So they want to know the worst burns. This is all burns. Fourth digit is for all burns. Fifth digit is third degree only. So the fifth digit number will always be the same or less than the fourth digit because it's a subset. So the rule of nines says that the head is worth 9%. And each arm is worth 9%. Each leg is worth 18%. The back is 18%. The front is 18%. So in our previous example, we said the back was a third degree burn. Okay. And so let's just say that's 18%. And then we said the breast, second degree, and let's just call that, 5%. Depending on how endowed you are. Okay. So what you want to do is add them together to get the total body surface area. So 18 plus 5 is 23, right? And then of these two burns, which one is third degree only? The 18%, right? We don't carry over the 15% or the 5% because that's second degree only. So for the fifth digit, we're going to be focused on the 18%. Fourth digit, we're going to be focused on the 23%. So here's a neat trick. 948, whatever the first number is, 0.21. Okay? Because 20 to 29%, right? It's always going to be a 2. That first number is always going to match. And then for the 18%, 10 to 19 is going to be a 1. 948.21. Isn't that a cool trick?
I did not know that trick. I am so excited to learn that. That's fun.
So that's how you should write it on your exam booklet. Identify all the burns, and so this is for the 948 code, and then for the actual code, we realize this is in the same group. So that's going to be a 942. What's the worst one? 0.3. And then we need to use, for the multiple. So in this case, you're only going to have the two codes. Normally this one goes first and 948 goes second. Okay. And then just to finish up the discussion, if you have multiple burns, like you can't fit them in the number of slots that you have, there is code 946, which is burns of multiple specified sites. So if you're going to use that category, obviously they're not going to use location because you're saying it's multiple, but you use the same fourth digits. Okay. So that is burn coding.
I might mention real quick too, though, when someone sees you do the math, it isn't that that's like the extent of math you do as a coder. That and adding your the size of a lesion that's removed. So it's minimal math. You do deal with numbers all day, but you don't have to do math.
Great. And someone's in the chat
some people are
saying,
scared of math.
Yes, I know, but yeah, you have to do a little bit of math. Someone in the chat saying, I love it when Alicia draws pictures in class.
I'm a big picture drawer, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my artwork is more laughable, but memorable. The Replay Club is $10 a month, and you get the full recording of what you saw tonight. You get all of the handouts. You get the transcript. There's a full word-for-word transcript, so you can print it out, and it's all in the same member area where you would if you were a student of ours. So it's very convenient. You just go into, and when you become a Replay member, not only do you get the current months, you get all the previous months as well.